Hi guys, this is fourth part of What If My Hero Academia, Civil War MHA AU, so let's begin. Chapter 11, Rescue, August 25, 2149, 8:45 a.m. Lemillion along with 4 pro-heroes allies with the PD to raid an abandoned warehouse where not only the remaining members of the League but also Midoriya and the other Rogue UA students reside. As much as Midoriya would like to stay and entertain the pro-heroes, he knows full well he cannot afford to lose anyone. Just losing his teammates including some members from the League would be a detriment to his plan, setting him back weeks from his usual schedule. Observing closely, they have heroes like Kamui Woods who can restrain and contain while also holding some firepower such as Najire with Gran Torino and his speed quirk to catch them if they try to escape on foot. Along with the backup of the police, Lemillion is the biggest threat in his opinion as his quirk can be proved to be unpredictable and versatile. His ability to use his quirk can make him easily adapt to any situation and in terms, can keep up with any plan Midoriya can make up. Still, if he plays his cards right, his plan can work but only due to the timing of Kurogiri's Black Portal. Along with him, the other key players are gonna have to be Hagakure due to her invisibility and same skill of adaptability as Lemillion and Twice who is ranked S in the villain list. Depending on the situation, everything depends on the extensive potential of Twice's quirk. Plus, one more. Midoriya eyes Kodai as she slowly walks behind Midoriya. I am honestly disappointed in you, Midoriya. What would All Might say if he sees you acting like this? What was the purpose of giving you that gift if you do not live up to his expectations? Those were some fighting words and sure it stung a little but the young man was not about to be lectured by some man who wasn't even chosen to wield one for all. While Midoriya kept them distracted, Kodai walks closely to where Toga is, leaving Eri behind for Asui to protect. Toga notices but does not say anything, instead she opens her hand from behind to receive 2 small daggers. Activating her quirk, she feels the knives growing exceptionally larger. Being given such wonderful gifts to slice people, Toga could not be any happier. Enough chit-chat, Lemillion. We came here for one thing and one thing only, Kamui speaks out of terms. The wooded hero then goes on the offensive, extending his wooden arms out for the main target. Everyone watches astonishingly as their supposed leader gets caught by surprise. Unable to react, Kamui's wooden sticks push the young boy back, pinning and restraining him against the wall. Izuku Midoriya, you are under arrest for committing dangerous acts of terrorism at UA. Midoriya, Todoroki snaps his head back to the man being pinned down. With the task of annoyance, Dabi was ready to burn up the flames holding him down. Not so fast young man. Gran Torino was then the next hero to act, speeding past the immobile rogues and targeting the scarred man. Don't think you can catch me with that again, old man. Learning his past mistake, he covers himself in burning blue flames, forcing the old-timer to back out if he does not want to run the risk of getting second-degree burns. Soon, villains and the rogue alike begin to retaliate. You bastard, get your grubby hands off him. Toga, feeling a little spiteful, recklessly throws her knife at the man holding Midoriya down. Kamui effortlessly dodges the oncoming blades aiming for his head, hitting a wall close behind him. Too bad, little girl. Ya missed. Feeling confident in his reaction time, he could not understand when the psychotic high school girl stared at him with the creepiest smile. Even though he would be safe, the wooden hero still has this lingering feeling of uneasiness. I figured you would dodge it. I never intended to hit you, dumbass. Her cocky attitude stung his heart, lashing out recklessly which opened the opportunity. Without a second warning, the knife pulled itself out and aimed for the hero. Kamui heard the knife behind him unlatch itself and watched as it aimed directly to his neck. Having both his hands preoccupied with holding Midoriya down, the knife just barely pierces the outer armor he naturally has on. The other pro-heroes along with Lemillion watch in horror as Kamui practically skims past death thanks to his outer wood. What he doesn't understand is how the knife could move on its own and with such force. What caught him off guard? He could feel the pressure of the knife digging inside his armor. Toga. Atta girl, Toru. What is happening? Kamui utters in pain, feeling the knife stabbing deeper into his armor and barely scratching the inner skin of his neck. With his life in danger, he has no choice but to detach his hold on Midoriya in order to pull the knife back out of his neck. Free of the hero's restraint, Midoriya falls back to the ground, thanks Hagakure. You saved me some time so stand down, and with an inch of muscle, he tears the hold off him almost immediately. Lemillion breathed heavily in a panic as he could not keep up with what was happening. In that moment of hesitation, a gunshot blew out but it was not towards the rogue nor the villains but to themselves. One by one, the police were caught in a surprise as their gun moved on their own towards another man's leg and showers them with bullets. Steadily, the SWATs fell to the floor screaming in agony as they began to shoot each other. The heroes panic as they did not know what was going on. Why are their own soldiers shooting each other? Why are they already at a disadvantage? How could they overpower them so easily? It then occurs to them about one key information they forgot in their report. In the files, it stated that Midoriya along with 6 other students went rogue. Lemillion looks around and excluding the villains, can only spot 5 including Midoriya. It was only then they left out the one student who possesses the least presence yet is arguably the most threatening one of the bunch. Everyone, be on your guard. There is a villain with an invisibility quirk. Lemillion screams out, Varindine every being still able to fight. From the 12 SWATs, only 4 remain thanks to Hagakuri's quick thinking and surprise. Nice job Hagakuri. With a single leap, Midoriya dashes from his spot to intersect Mirio. The 2 powerhouses clash as Mirio does not have time to enter his phasing mode. Damn you, Midoriya. I will keep them busy, regroup with Kurogiri now. Midoriya begins to bark orders because aside from twice, Asui and Eri who are relatively close to the black mist, everyone else is pretty distant and Kurogiri is not strong enough to cloak everyone in such a far distance. Listen up. Divide the villains and capture them one by one. Do not let them reach the Kurogiri. Mirio then retaliates to his team. At this point, it was a game of who was first to strike and already, Midoriya and the rogues had the advantage. Come on Kodai. Yaoyorozu grabs her hand as they make a break for it. While running to Kurogiri's side, Kamui intercepts them with the intention to at least restrain the least threatening ones. You are not going anywhere, shooting out his branches only to be burned off by the blue flames. Dabi, alongside Toga with a new sharpened knife jumps in front of the 2 girls. Dabi, you're up against a bad matchup, hero. Toga, it'll be hard to slice you up but rest assured. You will bleed. Gran Torino is being held against Todoroki who is able to stop his fast movements due to his exceptional reaction time and cold quirk while Najire is being too occupied with Kaibara and Kaminari. While Hagakuri deals with the remaining SWATs, Midoriya faces a one-on-one with Lemillion. Even if he can phase past his attacks for a counter, Midoriya's sense of reaction is on par if not, almost better than most heroes. Due to Midoriya's hidden quirk, Danger Sense, he is proving to be a tougher opponent than most top heroes he spars with. You look in stress, Lemillion. The caped hero could not fathom how he could talk so casually while no, it doesn't even look like he is struggling in fighting with him. Despite him wearing a mask, the blonde hero could only imagine the crept smirk on his face as he himself does not feel like he has the upper hand against the broccoli boy. While Mirio goes on the offensive, shooting out every possible punch he could land. Midoriya remains passive in just defending. I've studied your quirk after our first fight, ya know. Your quirk of permeation is strong with no real drawback but like all quirks. They all have a weakness and you are no different. What is he talking about? He's just riling me up. Damn you, Midoriya, how far have you fallen? Unable to properly control his emotions, Mirio starts to throw his punches out of spite to desperately land a hard blow. Instead, Midoriya takes the advantage as he badges it naturally but only this time, he grabs onto the arm he avoided. Lemillion watches in absolute disbelief as he is easily flipped over to his back, slamming him down as hard as he could. Upon impact to the ground, he exhales intense pain directed to his lower back and arm. Ya see, your quirk is amazing but all I have to do is wait for you to attack. In order to deal hard punches, you need to make your set intended body part set to where you would make contact. Leaning his face closer to the feared hero, if I can't attack you where I want to, then I'll just have to break you down piece by piece. Without another word, Lemillion phases through the ground to regroup his strategy. Midoriya found a way to counterattack his quirk without using any underhanded methods like Overhaul did with Eri. With him coming up with a strategy more effective than Overhaul's, Midoriya has proven to be a more threatening opponent than any other he has faced. But still, he has to win. Resurfacing from the ground up behind the young villain, he approaches the boy with the same tactic. Due to his quirk, Danger Sense, he was able to sense the faint wind blowing behind him and meet his attack halfway by trying to block it. Special move. Blinder Touch Eyeball Crush. Using his feint attack, he follows up his direct punch with an uppercut, guaranteeing a direct hit. At least, that was what he had hoped for. Instead, his attack was then stopped by the inhuman reaction speed, able to catch his fist almost effortlessly. Too bad, Lemillion, you can't beat me with such cheap tactics anymore. Catching his fist allows him a split second of vulnerability which Midoriya takes full advantage of by just a squeeze, crushing his arm almost completely. Using only 45% of his strength, he breaks his bare knuckles and bones in his right arm, rendering useless. Lemillion drops to the floor screaming in agony. He kneels before the green-haired boy, completely under his mercy without an idea of how to fight back. It's over, Mirio. Nejire follows the voice of inhuman pain and he sees Mirio kneeling with his fingers twisted and bent in ways she found extremely disturbing. Mirio, detaching herself from the fight between Kaminari and Kaibara who were actually somewhat struggling against her, then focuses on the lone boy. She shoots out her spiral waves to provide some distance between Mirio and Midoriya. Seeing now there is no reason to stay any longer than he already has, he backs away to regroup with Kurogiri and the team. Is everyone here? He looks at everyone present. Surrounding him and Kurogiri was everyone who was present, well, almost everyone. Because of the drastic situation they were in, they completely forgot about the one man they worked so hard to get. Just a few feet away, an old man is seen crawling away still tied up, struggling to worm himself to safety. Everyone watches as they witness a pathetic display of an escape while Midoriya takes a slight sigh in disappointment before actually taking the initiative to quickly dash towards him, pick his ass up and regroup with the team. You're not going anywhere, and neither are you. Kamui then shoots out his branches once more only for it to stop short due to Dabi and Todoroki's hot flames. This is bad, we need more reinforcement. Lemillion is taken out and our squad is completely decimated. Nejire is too caught up with her friend's condition and I don't even know where the hell Gran Torino is right now. This is bad, at this point, everyone is gonna escape. Open the portal. Kurogiri obeyed his order and opened a black mist. One by one, Kamui watches as the kids walk through the portal, helplessly unable to stop them due to his branches reducing to cinders every time. Damn you villains. After Dabi, Kaminari, Todoroki and Midoriya were the last ones to enter. Still holding on to the hostage. Sorry hero but you lose again. Walking through the portal he senses the rumbling through the wall in front of them and the bricks come falling down, disrupting the portal and pushing Midoriya back. Who is it now? Emerging from the dust were three more figures. A tall man covered in scorching heat, a fairly young man with crimson-spanned wings and finally, a man with a long neck covered in denim. The top heroes, Endeavor, Best Jeanist and Hawk make an appearance. Best Jeanist. Thanks for holding them off till we got here, Kamui. You did good. Hawk. We'll take care of the rest. Endeavor. SHOOOOTTOOOO. Midoriya. Damn, talk about a superhero landing. The three kids stand in awe with the sudden appearance of the top three heroes in Japan. Hey, you gotta be kidding me right? We're way above our heads on this one, Kaminari points out in a very understanding manner. Midoriya stares off, actually agreeing with him for once as he never thought he would face them so soon. Father. Enji. Never once taking his eyes off his father's, he can see the clear vision in his eyes. One of disappointment and worries but mostly questions he cannot provide at this moment. One thing's for sure, he has failed as his son and as a successor to his legacy. And honestly, he was okay with that. Hawk observes the situation and he spots one man in the hands of a boy with a crooked smile for a mask. It seems we're dealing with a hostage situation, he points out. Grabbing the attention of Best Jeanist, he draws into a conclusion. Securing the hostage is the main priority, let's begin. He begins to unwrap his strings from his denim suit. Nah, how about we end it? Kurogiri. Midoriya suddenly shouts, waking up the Black Mist villain, get us out of here now. This is too soon. Midoriya and the others are not yet ready to take on the top pros and Shin cannot afford to be in the hands of the heroes. Kurogiri opens the portal once more as Midoriya desperately jumps into the portal, only for Shin to be taken away from him. He looks back to find Best Jeanist snatching Yasuga Shin away from his clutches. Damn it, Kaminari and Todoroki begin to attack, only to be stopped by Endeavor intense flames and Hawk's versatile feathers. Todoroki begins to burn the oncoming feathers while at the same time, fending off his father's flames with his ice quirk. You disappoint me Shoto, you were supposed to be the best of us. How far have you already fallen? I'm fighting for a cause bigger than mine, father. I cannot afford to lose now. Getting overpowered, he finds the strength to resolve his decision and stops pulling the punches from his father. Kaminari squirms his way out of the fight to support Midoriya, using his quirk to briefly stun the occupied hero. This small window of opportunity allows Midoriya to retrieve the poison bastard. Get away from me, ya bastard. Shin begins to struggle again, carelessly kicking his hands away whenever the boy tries to reach out for him. By his desperate action, it's clear he'd rather be in the hands of the heroes than his. With Todoroki and Kaminari already being pushed against the edge, Midoriya has no choice but to end it all. Endeavor, it's over villains. Surrender and come quietly now. Bang, the loud noise of a gun going off catches the attention of everyone present. Everyone darts their eyes towards the man who pulled the trigger. Endeavor, Hawk and Best Jeanist watch in horror as the body of Yasuga Shin drops dead on the floor. His head blasted through a hole and parts of his brain laid on the floor, he stood behind the dead body with blood splattered on his mask. Hawk, why you shot your hostage? Why, Best Jeanist, you scum, we failed. Todoroki, he did it. Kaminari, finally, mission accomplished I suppose. Midoriya, it was too soon. But it had to be done. The black portal appears behind him, we're leaving now, Midoriya then announces. Todoroki and Kaminari then walk near the green-haired boy in preparation to leave. The pro-heroes watch in absolute horror, unable to move due to the unprecedented death of Yasuga Shin. Shoto, my son, please, come back. Losing the will to fight, Endeavor pulls back his flames as he chooses the passive route and begs his son not as a hero but as a father for his own child to come back. Do not walk this path. You go down the road in blood, there is no turning back. There will be no home to return to. Todoroki heard his plea but the clear dull colors in his heterochromia eyes spoke volume in his stance and where he chose his path. Goodbye, Enji. Second follows Kaminari as he was about to enter the portal. While the top three stood by and watched, Kamui fought in frustration to push forward. What the hell are you guys doing? They are escaping and you are doing nothing. Fight and win. In his last desperate action, he extends his branch out towards the leftover two. Midoriya was completely exhausted. Repeatedly, he has been using various of his quirks so the effectiveness becomes dull and unresponsive. And that puts himself into danger of the oncoming attack. Luckily, the last man to step into the portal notices the branch bypassing his vision towards Midoriya. Midoriya, watch out, he screams out, pushing his body into his position. Knocking him onto the portal, he trades places with Kamiari which then captures him instead. Kaminari no. Midoriya extends his hand out as he falls into the abyss of darkness. He watches as he falls and his lightning bolt friend gets tied up by Kamui's branch. Sorry bro, I had to do it to secure your safety. As long as you escape, you will carry on all of our wills. Midoriya screams for his hand to reach out to the Dumbo, even going as far as activating his Black Whip quirk for Kaminari to grab onto. He holds on but is unable to escape. His hand holds tightly until the portal closes, cutting the connection between the two. Midoriya falls, back to the portal closing in front of him. He finds himself in another abandoned building, resembling an old rundown house. Asui along with Eri and everyone approaches behind him, thankful for his safety. Hey, Midoriya, where is Kaminari? Todoroki was first to step up and ask the elephant in the room. Everyone was silent and Midoriya only gritted his teeth as he groaned in frustration. I let my guard down. He saved me from getting captured by the heroes and made a risky sacrifice. He dwells in his own mistake as he loses control of his emotions. Everyone stood in shock as they actually managed to lose one of their own. Everyone displayed their own thoughts about it. Kaibara especially did not take the news all too well. What do you mean he sacrificed himself? Did you not get his back at all? You're strong, Midoriya. How could you let this happen? Midoriya had no excuse, all he could really do was apologize. If it wasn't for Kodai comforting her fellow ex-classmate, he would have gone off, voicing his clear frustration and anger towards him. Midoriya especially is being affected as he blames himself among others for allowing such a rookie mistake to happen and because of that, one of his friends got captured. Izuku. Suyu then kneels down to hug him from behind to try her best in calming him down. It somewhat works as Izuku returns the gestire by holding onto her arms close to his chest. Kaibara. Kaminari got captured, what are we going to do now? Kodai. Do we move on and continue our plan? We killed Yasuga Shin so he will surely make his move soon. Dabi. Do we really have to do this with him? He doesn't seem to be all that important. Todoroki. Watch your tone, Dabi. Hagakure. I wouldn't want to do this without him. Toga. So what, we're gonna stage a rescue. Yaoyorozu. If we are going to rescue him, we need to do this knowing full well we're going up against a lot of pro heroes. Toga. Hee, sounds exciting. Twice. Ah yay, rescue operation. Let's just break in and leave him there to rot. Suyu walks to meet him face to face, pulling his mask off to his face properly. Slowly removing his mask, he can see a single tear falling from his left eye down his cheek. What do you want to do? She asks. Even if it's hard to admit, Dabi has a point as losing Kaminari is no real setback to his plan. But that doesn't mean he does not have any value to the team. Kaminari, along with the others within the Rogue, plays a key role that allows him to be able to pull through with these missions. By himself, he can imagine after completing his missions, he would also lose a part of himself as he continues to go down this path filled with acts that could condemn him. His hands are stained with the blood of villains and heroes, but with the reassurance of his fellow friends, he was able to bounce back and push forward for the sake of a better future. His friends alone are what keep Midoriya from falling too far into the dark. The final deciding factor came in the form of a little girl, oblivious to their situation, but she has experienced enough to know someone is sad. The little horned girl grabbed Midoriya's vacant hand along Suyu. I want to save Mr. Sparky Big Bro Deku. Eri. Thinking that way, Kaminari holds more value than anyone outside from the Rogues. It's decided, he says, grabbing the attention from the team. Standing up and fixing his suit, he holds onto his mask on his left and Suyu's hand on his right. We're gonna save Kaminari first. I don't want to do this without him, without anyone. Having you guys here allows me to push forward and do the unthinkable. To make actual change for the future of this society, of this world. If I want to see this through to the end, I want to see it with everyone who stood beside me. Hearing his heartfelt speech was the voice needed to spark the motivation within the team. Everyone, even Dabi, who still finds it annoying, finds himself standing beside Midoriya, giving their full support. Not only him, but Yoeyorizu, Todoroki, Hagakure and others also did not want to do this without their favorite mascot. Todoroki, we're with you till the end, Midoriya. Yaoyorozu, I too do not want to do this without Kaminari. Hagakure, me too. Kodai, quick rescue mission huh? Kaibara, no matter what. We'll save him. Izuku looks to Suyu, who also supports his decision. Will you help me once more? He playfully asks. He knew the answer but still chose to ask as he always loved seeing the face of the one girl who supported him from the start. Ribbit, of course. With a satisfied look, he begins to devise a plan. Well, let's get started then. So, Yasuga Shin is dead too huh? It appears all my fellow co-workers are getting taken out one by one. I can't let this happen any longer, or else everything we've worked so hard for will be for naught. Shame, I still have so much to do here. Regardless, prepare me for a jet. We'll be taking off to Japan within the upcoming month. I want to see the insects who are trespassing my path, so I can squish them. Chapter 12, Kaminari. Midoriya and the rest of the Rogues spent their spare days preparing and going through plans on how to save Kaminari. Midoriya, Yaoyorozu and Asui gathered together to plan out their operation thoroughly so they can save Kaminari with the least bit of risk. Thanks to Hagakure's invisibility quirk and Toga's ability to transform into anyone she consumes blood from, the two girls were able to find out where they held Kaminari and sneak in to pinpoint his exact location of where he is being held. Not only that, but with the help of Midoriya's guidance, they were able to gather further intel and set up prep time to make it easier for Kaminari to get out and escape when the time comes. Everything is falling within Midoriya's expectations, feeling pretty confident in his plan. All this prep time was able to be achieved within a week's time, and all that's left is to hit the prison. Suiting up in their respective rooms, Midoriya walks out of his room along with the others in their own suits but a little modified as they are about to initiate an attack. Is everyone ready? Midoriya turns back to the group, feeling the need to ask for both of them and more so, himself. Everyone looked battle ready, donning their ex-hero uniforms dyed in black colors to blend in the night. Even the former League of Villains received stealth uniforms befitting for the task they were about to embark on. Other than Twice, whose suit seems to be okay for the occasion, and other reasons, Dabi received a light-weighted leather jacket with combat pants in black to match his preferred style of freedom. Toga got a little modification to her usual high school uniform and instead got a simple hoodie with blood-red strings going through the outer lines to her skirt. One addition she absolutely loves is the various sheaths behind her back sticking outward to the side, making it easier for Toga to hold more blades with easier access. Loving the new fit, She could not contain her happiness and latched onto Yaoyorozu for a good 15 minutes before she had to be broken off from her grasp with the help of Kaibara and Dabi. "We're ready whenever you are." Todoroki speaking out on the behalf of the rogues, the others nod in unison. Having the back of his former classmates and the trust of the league by his side, he has never felt this confident or safe in a long time. Not needing to jump into action alone is always something he relies on. "Let's go." 1 hour before they moved. "He hasn't given us anything. He hasn't talked since he got here. It's been a week and he has not broken yet. We can't resort to intense interrogation. He's just a kid, and that kid along with other brats were able to cause so much destruction within the span of a couple days. What should we do?" Saragame along with other high-positioned officers stand in a room right across from the prisoner to discuss the next idea of action. Eyeing the criminal through the one-sided mirror stares down to his lap. Kaminari sits still wrapped up in a straitjacket used to contain Saiku's now restrains a young boy. "This bastard hasn't done anything. He hasn't said a word, so can we just send him back to his cell? He is of no harm anymore." The officer speaks out. While the others agreed, Toragame pulls his head back in a foul growl. "You fools. We're already running the risk of transferring him here. Why would you put this kid in the same vicinity where we hold all for one?" The other officers startled back like a bunch of mice. "BB, because we received orders from the higher-ups to do so. We didn't know it would cause such problems." The dogman pulls his nose in a scrunch of frustration, and WHO exactly gave this stupid order. Well, excuse me. Another voice echoes across the room. The dog along with the other officers breaks their neck towards the source of the voice coming from the entrance. There stood one other officer with sweat dripping down his neck to his uniform. "Who are you? State your business here," Saragame barks, causing the surrounding officers to twitch under his intense pressure. The young officer gulps whatever saliva he had left as he scans the room in a panic. We have visitors. Who dares intervene in such private matters? Why, you may come in," he quickly wraps up as he tiptoes out of the dog's line of sight. Instead, a frail old man with dead blonde bunny hair sticking up makes his presence known. The officers gasp in astonishment while Saragame only sighs in disappointment. "Of course. Saragame. What do you want, All Might?" "All Might. Good evening." The frail man fidgets with his business uniform to pull out a paper form. "I have permission to be here." "I get that, but you never answered my question. State your business," the dog demands, patience slowly letting up. All Might have slipped his note back into pocket. "Do I need any reason to visit one of my own fellow students?" He continues to fire back with another question. Whether it might be an old thing or not, many elders tend to combat others with questions to stroll along the conversation in their favor without the need to directly answer their opposing question. And All Might has mastered this annoying art. The man allowed himself in with another person following close by. "And who's the young one next to you?" Hoping asking this might get some kind of idea for his intention here. "I thought about bringing his parents here to get some reason out of him, but she insisted on coming when the word got out of his capture spread across UA. I had hoped that by bringing her here then maybe, she can spite some sense into him." Saragame looks at the young girl, dressed in a traditional school uniform that resembles UA. "Is that him? Is that really Kaminari?" Jiro asks weakly. Her voice began to tremble when he spoke out his name. It sucked. It hasn't been long before Kaminari and his group's sudden disappearance, but seeing him here was like looking at the sky from night and day. The Kaminari she remembers was reckless, dumb, funny, energized, happy, electric. Now, her eyes connect to his, but the deadpanned yellow pupils looking back at her tells a different story, like he was a different person entirely. He sits there quietly, looking back at her despite only seeing a black window from his perspective. Still, his eyes were practically piercing her own without cracking an inch of what she had hoped could see as his smile once more. The last moment she remembered was the sudden jolting touch of his hand swaying slowly across her shoulder-length hair. Running his fingers down to her back neck, his touch has never felt so cold. So chilling. "I'm sorry," were the last words he muttered to her that continued to invade her mind 24/7. Breaking her sense of reason and shattering all those times they had together with the rest of Class 1A before knocking her out. It took all her will to stand in front of this one-way mirror without breaking into a crying mess. How could he do this to us? We were friends not too long ago, but now the Kaminari, Denki, standing before me is someone I have never seen before. She bottles her fingers to a tight fist in frustration at the thought. How could he? Has all those times spent in UA facade? Is this your true intentions? Do you remember way back when, All Might interjects in, breaking the train of thoughts Jack had at the time. During the first initial attack at the rescue training ground, it was at that time we suspected there was an insider that sent clear details to the LOV, a traitor to be precise. Fearing where the conversation was heading to, Jiro shakes in denial. You don't think Kaminari is the traitor of UA, do you? It wouldn't be a far-fetched idea. Saragame steps in with his usual cryptic timing. With the amount of LOV attacks prior, we came into the conclusion that a traitor among us was giving out valued information regarding UA's activities, and this young man fills that description. Jiro, you can't. Saragame, it's been proven evident, backed up by the events that happened weeks ago. Him along with Mirodire Izuku, Yaoyorozu Momo, Todoroki Shoto, Hagakure Toru, Asui Suyu, Kodai Yui and Kaibara Sen have committed acts of villainy. Adding that with the affiliation with the LOV, we do not need any more backed evidence to safely come to this conclusion. Though he puts out a convincing argument, Saragame foolishly pulls back the key information of the death of Shigaraki, which could easily overtake his claim and stir up even more hard-answering questions. Feeling it was not needed to tell her nor All Might, he decides not to bark up that side of the topic. With that being said, I don't believe that. All Might expresses his opinion. I took the time to get to know my fellow students, and they all possess untapped potential to even surpass me in heroism. The path of hero is one not easily to stray away from when you combine your ideals with the lingering feeling of love and care. Jiro looks from All Might back to Kaminari. His poker face tells her otherwise. Still, All Might, being his usual self, was the physical personification of the symbol of peace. The symbol of hope, and stood above all others with his ideals and optimism. Hope, a simple feeling that even after what has happened with her and the others in Class 1A, is still able to light a bit of spirit in Jiro's eyes. All Might turns to Jiro as he builds up the courage to ask the awaiting request. Young Jiro, I believe in you. The reason I brought you here is to give you a moment in time for you to talk to him. Will you do it? Jiro heart freezes in time. Me. Why, you should have brought her parents or something if you want to get some form of reason from him. But you wanted to see him, right? He asked back, forcing the young girl to a pause. I mean, that's true, I felt like it would cause more harm than good. Choosing you was not any better of a choice, but I feel like doing this would bring about a closure between you two. I give you the chance to not only find closure in your heart but also have the opportunity to bring some sense to him and bring him back to us. Please, we all want the same thing. Make sense out of this madness. Jiro did not know what to think. If given the opportunity, would she be talking to the man he knew and grew to respect as a friend, or just another wall in which she is powerless to overcome and reach? You are okay with this, right? All Might then turns to the dog along with the other officers. At the moment, no one held more authority than Saragame, so it took some hard convincing for him to finally comply. I will permit this, but for only 30 minutes. He restricts the young earphone jack girl to a limited time, but by doing this, he hopes to gather some valuable information regarding his group. One only she can get. Kaminari's ears perk up by the sudden sound of the door opening to his left. He faintly heard one of the officers telling someone about the limited time, and he heard a familiar voice complying. Her soft feminine voice sparks his memories of times in UA, where everyone was happy and together. Blocking out his memories and voices, he forcibly shuts his eyes, not expecting to meet one of his former classmates so soon. And it had to be her of all people. Kaminari, she calls out. She knows the moment his name was called. She saw a faint movement in responding, but he did not greet back. Jiro stared at his lifeless body as he did not even look up to meet her eyes. Is that you, Jiro? He mumbles loud enough for her to hear him. His dry, monotone voice aches her heart as she was expecting something more energized, especially from him. Who else do you think? Dumbass. Why'd they bring you here? He then asked a follow-up question. Why are you here? Jiro rubbed her hands through her hair. It's because I asked and All Might allowed it. The yellow-haired boy seems to bob his head up and down but still refuses to look at her. I see. I see. She spats out in a mocking manner. Is that all you have to say after all you guys have done? Do you have any idea of the situation you are in right now? Kaminari. I have no regrets. Jiro. What? He. His giggle was soft, but it was something he couldn't contain his laughter as he lifted his head up to finally see her face. Valued. Sorry. It's good to see you. How ya been? It seems whatever he says, it bothers her to the point of irritation. Just a while ago, it did not seem he wanted to look at her, but now, here he was acting like being tied up and monitored 24/7 was a daily thing for him. What happened to you, Kaminari? going straight into the juicy bits of questions as she could not shy away from her own sense of curiosity to fuel her understanding. Why are you doing this? Kaminari thought for a moment before shaking his back in irritation. Is it so hard to believe I'm doing this of my own accord? He fires back, scaring the timid little girl. I never want to believe that. Maybe you are being influenced by another source. A quirk that turns you to the dark side. Maybe Midoriya and the others have. Shut up. Jiro paused her rambling, shocked to hear the buzzy boy say something she had never heard him say before so blatantly and boldly. Whether I'm being influenced to do this or not is of no concern to you. What me, Midoriya, Toru, Yaoyorozu and the others are doing is something bigger than you. Bigger than us, and I don't want you. Kaminari stopped short, realizing what he was spouting might spark an unneeded drama between the two. The second she processed what he was about to say may somewhat concern her made it nearly impossible to pull her away from him. Tears began to fall down her face, which brought out about a reaction from the boy that was not pain. It was shock. Jiro. He let that name ring out his mouth for as long as he could allow it before she ran to him, knees befalling in front of him as she was practically within inches of his face. Her shaking breathing was enough for him to feel across his face, and being tied up made it nearly impossible to turn away. Please, Kaminari, she pleads with tears continually running down her face, please come back to us. To me, and we can forget everything that has happened here. We can go back to UA and strive to become the heroes we always dreamed of. Stop it. Get away from me. I don't need this. I made my decision. Midoriya needs my help. To save her. He needs my help. My help. He needs it right. If I'm being honest. He then speaks out, his voice softer, almost sounding like a defeated sigh. I don't think the others need me anymore. I've done my part, and Midoriya is plenty strong enough to tackle the challenges head-on with Todoroki and the others. Jiro's eyes widen as he begins spouting things she doesn't understand, looking at his face with a smile that can only be described as fake. I've played my role and done as much as I can. Knowing them, they will be able to complete the mission without me and save her. Jiro was listening as he recklessly sounded off important intel but still shrouded with mysteries. Save who? From where? After finally scanning the entire room one last time and taking one quick glance back at the black window, one last time behind at All Might, Saragame and the officers, his yellow-bolted eyes finally rests on her black onyx eyes. The sudden stare down to hers sent a jolting sensation that felt similar to the time Kamienri used on her to knock her out. Only this time she had the resolve to endure it. Honestly, I wouldn't mind going back to UA with you, but with what I have already done, the society and others wouldn't be as forgiving. I'm labeled as a villain after all, hee. Hearing him call himself a villain hurt a lot more than she could have anticipated. I'm too far gone, too far to the point I can't go back, he admits to himself in a lower tone. Before she could say any more, a sudden rumble from the ground disrupts her footing, causing her to fall on her behind. Jiro, are you okay? Despite being unable to help her, it reassured her that he even still felt somewhat of remorse towards his fellow ex-classmates. I'm okay. Picking herself up, she pats her behind for comfort. What the hell was that all about? As she said that, the power shuts off, blaring and sounding alarms with red lights beaming across the darkened room. The power went out. What is going on? Jiro raised a bit in a panic. Kaminari scanned the room briefly before All Might came barging in through the door, alerting the two teenagers. We're under attack. Young Jiro, stay here with young Kaminari where it is safe. Me and Mr. Saragame will go check it out. Before Jiro nor Kaminari could interject, the frail blondie ran past the door, leaving them alone once more. Hey, Jiro, Kaminari calls out, grabbing the jackphoned girl. Use your jacks through the building and hear whatever the hell's going on, he suggests, actually putting out something of a good idea. The young girl did exactly that and placed both her jacks, one on the floor and the other just beyond the wall leading outside and closest to the source of the commotion. What the hell is going on? We've been compromised. The front entrance has been blown to bits. The left corridor is shrouded with intense blue flames. We can't help Unit 2 being stuck here. Jin, can you hear me? What the hell is going on at Hallway D? Jin, Saragame sir, we're being attacked by unknown hostiles bearing unique masks. We can't identify the enemies. Help us ah. Every inch she scouted were screams and pleas for help were all she could hear. Hearing enough, she pulls her jacks back to its original length. Kaminari, having a slight idea of what's going but still played the part of him being a bit still out of the loop of the situation. Jiro, what the hell is happening out there? almost asking in a bit of a demanding manner to grab her attention. The young girl slowly backed away from the wall where the sudden rumbling came from. I don't know. The men out there are getting taken out one after the other, heroes too, and I have no idea who's causing all this. That wasn't enough. In order to determine whether this sudden turn of events favors him more than the heroes, he needs to know one more crucial part. One only he knows and can distinguish Midoriya and his group from the rest. Is there anything we know about them? Like what they wear? Jiro fidgets her hair in a panic, but then she remembers one thing she can share with him. Oh, one of the officers said their attackers wore unique masks. Bingo. Just when it all clicked together, Kaminari felt a slight tug behind his back, hearing the belts unbuckle and click out of the straitjacket. What the hell? Who is doing this? Hagakure, he whispers. It took a moment to get a proper response, but a slight giggle that resembles a feminine voice perches his ear. Ding ding ding. It's a me, the invisible girl, Hagakure. No way. He accidentally shouts in disbelief. Did you say something? Jiro turns her head towards his way, who then reclaims his composure so that he doesn't give it away. Kaminari sits back up straight, forcing a fake smile to ease her nerves. Nope, nothing. The ruckus is just keeping me a bit tense is all. Seeing no issue with it, she reverts back to watching the door entrance for any unwanted intruders. 1. Hagakure. Way to go, Buzzbrain. Why don't you just yell my name out loud while you're at it? 2. Kaminari. Sorry, you just scared me. Anyways, why are you guys here? 1. To rescue you, dummy. What else? 2. Rescue me. Why? 1. Midoriya, among many others within the rogues, decided that we don't want to do this without you. We still have a mission to accomplish, ya know. 2. But I didn't think you guys needed me anymore. 1. What the hell are you talking about? Boy, course we need yo ass. Finally unbuckling the last of the restraints, Kaminari can feel a bit more ease with his shoulders falling into place within his sides and easing up the tense muscles. We started this whole thing together, so it's only natural we're gonna see this through the end together as well. Together, huh? Somehow, hearing those words from her, knowing those meant a lot not only to him, to Hagakure, but to also everyone within the rogues, can safely assume they also feel the same way. Despite feeling his role being fulfilled, they still choose to keep him by his side, so how can he ask any more than that? I'll have to thank Midoriya for that. Thanks, Hagakure. I think I feel a bit more free now. The more time passes, the more angst the girl gets when she feels like All Might threw her to the sidelines when she believes she has the potential to help out, at least when it comes to saving people and scouting where the enemies are, but right now, her abilities are limited without her hero suit and gear. Hey, Kaminari, I'll be right back. And as she turned around, her sudden fear for All Might and the others overturned when Kaminari began sitting up from his seat and shaking off the rubber straitjacket he was forced to wear. Man, that was heavy. I couldn't even use my quirk on it. No way. The blonde boy glares at the palm of his hands, jolting out a bit of sparks as it dances around his fingertips. Hey, Hagakure, do you know where they put my suit and equipment? He asks nonchalantly. Hagakure is here. Yep, it's in the confiscated weapon room just down the hallway on the right. I can show you after you take care of her real quick. After feeling the electric buzz coursing through his system, he faces her head on, thinking that wasn't a bad idea. It's still gonna be pretty hard though. You don't have to do this, she pleads, backing up with every advance Kaminari made. Please, Denki, I don't want to hurt you. Stop it, help her. You don't have to do anything. Just let us pass and no one has to get hurt. Hearing him say those words that despite their history together with the rest of UA, he could say those words with such a straight face instead of the usual derpy smirk he would always put on whenever he says cool cliché lines. To hear those words come off as a threat to her, it hurts. But with that, it was clear that the Denki Kaminari she grew fond of and even respected at some point is no longer the man standing before her. Coming into that realization, she knew what he had to do, but enacting it takes a lot more courage than one could muster. I can't. Jiro begins to dig into her right pocket as Kaminari pulls out a mini speaker. Hagakure notices from the sideline and points out that is one of her support items that helps Jiro concentrate her vibrated sound waves to a single point, outputting a powerful sonic blast. Kaminari watches with a sullen expression as she plugs one of her ear jacks into it and points it directly at him, intending to shoot it if threatened or if necessary. Don't do this, Kyoka. Please. His voice fallens to a softer tone, clearly affecting her as tears begin to well in her eyes. Everything is messed up and no matter what route she takes, it's gonna hurt the both of them. Even still, at the end of the day, she has to do what's right to her heart. I'm a hero. I want to strive to become the ones who save people, wiping her tears from her eyes, a fire begun enlightening in her pupils that even sparks a little tingling sense in the buzzbolt. And it's also my job to stop villains if necessary, even you. Hey, Mirko, the prison south of Tokyo district is being attacked. Assemble the team and arrive at this destination as soon as you can. It's them and I need you guys suited up and ready. We're heading out. Chapter 13, Breakout. Deku, tell me the status of the situation. Kriti, Invisible Girl just located Chargebolt but is currently engaged with Jiro. Frappy, Jiro, Todoroki, the plan doesn't change. Keep fighting here and we'll buy Kaminari and Hagakure time for as long as they need. Spiral, easier said than done. What would we do when the pro heroes get here? Rule, Deku, no matter how many security guards they take out, double the amount replaces them. Like a Hydra beast, take out one head and 2 more replace them. We can't help it, one for all. Smoke he under his black vest blows out white smoke, covering a wide vicinity of the place, disorienting the guards close by. What? Where the hell did this smoke come from? Hey, everyone, where ah? His voice silences through the sudden cut, opening his throat and blood spurting out. I know Deku told us not to kill. But I just can't help myself. Thanks to the smoke, I can be free. The young blonde twirls her way through the smoke, dancing as she slashes every presence she senses around her. Not caring who they may be. Sonic blast. She rips out a huge soundwave blast, pushing Kaminari back from the force. Jiro grits her teeth in confusion. No matter how many times she blasts her soundwave at him, the buzz brain stands there taking it all with a small grin on his face. Come on Kaminari, a feminine voice calls out to him. Midoriya's and the others are stalling the guards and heroes outside. We don't have time for you to play around with your girlfriend. Jiro pulled back a bit flustered, her mouth opened. What? Girlfriend? No way. It's funny, he suddenly mumbles to himself a bit louder due to constantly taking in all those sounds. It appears he is not aware of how loudly he is speaking. The yellow boy folds his right hand into a pointer finger as he aims towards her. As much as I would like that, I can no longer hold my hand out to you. With a small condensing electricity charging up to the point of his finger, he shoots it out not towards her but the next best thing. In the speed of light, the bolt shoots out, auto-aiming towards the support item Jiro she has, blowing it up into bits. Jiro pulls back in pain as she screams out, blood dripping from her jack. Her damaged jack looked a bit cracked, something that has never happened before. Denki. Her voice cracks, quivering with her shaken body as Kaminari approaches, pushing her back into a corner. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Once it's all over, please go see Recovery Girl. Kaminari scans the room, calling the invisible girl to follow beside him. The blonde boy pulls his back on her, walking out the door. As much as she wants to run towards him, call out to him, begging for him to stay. As much as she wants to run to him and hug to hold him tight and prevent him from moving. She remembers back to the last time they met. The last time her eyes met upon his electric yellow ones. She remembers him smiling, apologizing like before when she was knocked out. After all that's happening, all she could think of is Kaminari hurting her. Because now, that was a possibility. Before leaving, the boy looks back one last time. Adding the icing on the cake allows him to see the face of the one he used to call a friend. Her eyes wide open with tears running down her cheeks. Her right hand reached out to him but he chose this path. He chose to join with Midoriya and the others and is prepared to fight both villains and heroes alike to reach their goal. He put everything on the line for this so he can't go back now. There's no turning back. Kaminari walks down the hallway, assuming Hagakure is walking beside her. Hey, Hagakure, did you really do all this? Walking down the path, blood can be seen plastered around the walls and bodies laid on the floor lifeless. Don't worry, I did not cut them in the vital areas. They're alive, I think. The uncertainty of her voice lets him rethink the situation he is willing to let himself into. There it is, guiding him to the door on the right, that's the armory. Suit up and meet us outside. I'll contact Deku and the others about our situation. Kamian re-entered the armory and found his suit and support gear in no time at all. After getting everything in order, the last thing to pick up was his signature mask. The purpose of the mask was to hide his identity from the public and his enemies, but what Midoriya once said still sticks to him, giving it a deeper meaning. We are one, stick together and we accomplish anything. With this mask, they will know what they're up against, for together, we are strong. We are strong, huh? Running his fingers along the line of the yellow lightning bolt on his mask, marveling on the design and how well Yaoyorozu and Hagakure did in defining what made him along with the others so unique. He puts on his mask with electric bolts coursing through his body. The inner excitement pulls on his heart as he could not contain his body from shaking. Whether what they're doing is for the good or bad of the society, they need to know. Things can't let this slide, and this is the only way they will ever listen to them. The need to know. I heard from Hagakure. Kaminari escaped and is now free. We completed our mission. Hearing Yaoyorozu report from the distance, Midoriya couldn't help but crack a tiny smile as he subdued a couple more guards with his black whips. We can't leave yet. There's still something I need to do. Todoroki, Toga and Froppy with me while the rest of you leave now and meet up with Kurogiri. Dabi, Yaoyorozu and the others picked a quick glance at their leader before complying quietly and falled back, followed by gunfire and heroes chasing them out. Do not let them escape. A hero dressed in a firefighter hero suit screams out as he tries to shoot out a blast of water at them. Before it could stop them. I don't think so, hero. Dabi turned around and erupted in high volume. Water clashing with intense blue flames created hot steam that is able to cover a large area and benefiting their escape. Damn, Backdraft curses himself for falling for something so obvious. What about the others? He turns back to the guards. Half of them were severely injured while the others were walking in distraught. Being overpowered by a small group when they had the home advantage could be very disheartening, and even he was feeling the effect. Still, other heroes took charge while telling them to tend to the wounded, while a bigger group, still able to fight, were ordered to hunt down the villains. In the midst of the chaos, a lone boy with green hair snuck through the back along with others as they sneaked inside. Todoroki, we did everything we could. Kaminari is free, so why are we still here? Midoriya, there's still something, or more like someone I have to see. I have to make sure. Toga, ooh, are we breaking out another prisoner? Asui, although I do not mind the idea of increasing our numbers with more allies. Having to rely on any more villains can be a bit concerning. No offense, Toga. Clearly Asui meant no ill will, for she speaks out her mind carelessly at times. Toga did not mind it and actually took it as a compliment. Well, that just means we hold a more special place in your team then, huh? She giggles to herself, allowing her to think of it that way. Midoriya is once again grateful for the masks Yaoyorozu made, as he could not allow her to see the sullied face he was expressing in reaction to her words. Because honestly, at the moment back at the warehouse, it wasn't a pick or choose moment. Simply put, had she not chosen to side with them, she would have died in an instant, and they just so happened to be the first people he wanted to engage with. So who are we finding? Todoroki asked the elephant question in the room. As they snuck past guard units patrolling the hallway with zero engagement, Midoriya guided his group to a secured hallway, standing 2 guards in front of a steel door. The bastard who started all of this. The guards stood as smoke began to seep out through the corridor of the hallway. Smoke. Guard 1. Hey, who's there? Guard 2. Show yourselves. Back to the walls, the guards could only watch frightfully as the smoke began to touch the tip of their feet. Without warning, a bolted knee hits the guts of one of the guards, crashing to the wall behind him, leaving it cracked upon impact. Followed up by his head being grabbed, Deku slams his face up to his other knee, knocking him back to the wall and dropping his gun. You bastard. The other guard points his gun at the silent masked figure. The cracked mask faces towards his way. Without the need to show his face, fear begins to fuel his mind as he is about to pull the trigger. A little too late, unfortunately, as a long rope of some sort begins to wrap itself around the gun, pulling it up in the air and out of his grasp. What the? He watches helplessly as the long thing that resembles a tongue wiggles its way to the ceiling. Following the long string to the source, another figure emerges from the smoke with a mask resembling a frog and a hole where the mouth is and the tongue coming out of. A villain with a frog quirk. He reaches for his pistol in his holster, but being put under the pressure of threats he could never hope to fend off against, carelessly drops it upon pulling it out. As he bends down to reach for it, a fast dash behind the green-suited figure leaves from behind as she charges at the guard. Holding out a sharp knife, she pierces the man's chest and pinning hard enough against the wall where he squealed in pain. The sudden stab stings his entire body. That's some nice blood. Let me have some. Pulling out a syringe from her suit, She pierces the hole in which she made and sucks out quite a bit of blood while he struggles to push her advances off him. That's enough, Toga. Do not kill him, Deku orders, standing menacingly beside her. Both her and the guard could feel the hostility emitting from him as he could not take any more, immediately knocking himself out from the blood loss and fear. Toga eyes her leader with annoyance before complying. Fine, she casually whines as she pulls her syringe out, at least I get to keep it. Todoroki walks to his side taking off his blue-red duality mask so Deku can see him with his actual face. Whether he takes his mask off or not, his facial expression is still unreadable as he always takes it with a serious expression. Who is behind this door? Midoriya feels upon the steel door with his hands and with the way it was, he could for certain open it, forcibly. The man behind this door has the answers for my questions. Whether he complies or not is up to him. Midoriya searches within himself to retain his focus as he uses his quirk once more. One for all, 45%. Midoriya placed his fist upon the steel door before pulling it back to wind up a powerful punch. Fa Jin, punching it with incredible speed and force, the door blasted back, destroying the entrance as they walked inside cautiously. HMPH. To think you actually came here. Was this your intention from the start, one for all? A deep, sinister voice calls out to the green-haired boy. While it was Asui's first time, Midoriya, Todoroki and even Toga's skins began to shiver in fear just by recognizing his voice. Midoriya clenched his fist tightly as he approached the clear glass that separates the two figures. On one hand, a young boy stands on his own with his teammates backing him up while the other is sitting on his cozy chair, strapped in metal leather and reinforced with chains. Right now, one man is free while the other is restricted. And yet, why does Midoriya still feel a bit uneasy about the situation? Why does it still feel like All for One is still in control of One for All? Deku, All for One. AFO, nice to finally meet you. Child of All Might, what brings you here, One for All? Surely, you have no intention of breaking me out as well. His sinister cackling can be heard through the walls, along with the hearing communications of guards nearing their location. Running on limited time, Deku rushes things in hopes of getting what he needs. Where is he, AFO? Where is your successor? The old man's cackle grows louder. What do you mean? From what I heard, Tamura Shigaraki is dead. Besides, he turns his head past the frog woman and the other man with the duality mask to see the only girl without one. AFO, judging by the fact she is here, willingly working alongside you and your lackeys. I assume either you or one of them did my boy in. Deku, Shigaraki is not the only successor. I know it and you know it. Where is he? What is his name and what is your intention for using him? Deku walks up closer to the wall, closing in the distance as he places his hand on the glass. Tell me. Slamming his fist on the glass, cracking it only a little, but he does not seem one bit fazed. If you want to know so badly, I can tell you, but it won't change anything. Deku among the others waits in anticipation. His name is Carter Young. Deku tries his best to figure out who the man is while still listening in close to what he has to say, but all he is bringing up are blanks. Who is this man? Why do I feel like I heard his name before? I raised this man far before I mended Tamura Shigaraki into my perfect image. Although he cannot match Shigaraki's hatred and malice, his maturity and intellect far surpasses any super-villain scum I have ever worked with. In all honesty, he alone is able to take down the world, and all I can do is just simply sit back and wait for him to make his move, which might happen pretty soon, might I add. He. Carter Young, Froppy says out loud. I remember now. Carter Young is one of the union leaders of the nation. He represents America and holds incredible power and status. Is that the Carter Young you are referring to? She blatantly asks, piquing the interest of everyone in the room. Even All for One laughs in disbelief. Ha ha ha, is he now? It's been so long since I've last contacted him that I haven't been keeping him up with what he has been doing. So he has finally moved up in society, huh? I can't wait for what he can do to destroy this pitiful world. I revel in the thought. He laughs louder, almost losing himself in his own delusions. And what about Tamura Shigaraki? He shouts the question, hearing a mixture between pain and sadness in his voice. You raised Shigaraki from childhood. Do you not feel anything about his death? And why should I? He claps back with a stone monotone voice. I'm not the one who killed him after all. Besides, Tamura Shigaraki is the grandson of Nana Shimura, the seventh user of One for All. Midoriya holds back his emotions, giving his all to not yell at him or hurt him at the risk of setting him free accidentally. Can you imagine it? Nana Shimura, the previous teacher of Toshinori Yagi. Once he finds out about the death of Shigaraki and pieces together the connection between him and Nana Shimura, he would be devastated. Ha ha ha. Deku, you do not care that your successor died. AFO, why should I? All I care about is hurting the symbol of peace. To destroy and cause him the most painful suffering I can. If he learns about this, I want to see his face in absolute distraught, broken to the core that he could not save a precious family member of his teacher. Besides, I'm not the one who pulled the trigger. AFO had his ways for words, twisting it so it would backfire at the other. But what he said was true. Midoriya was the one who pulled the trigger. Midoriya was fully aware that Shigaraki was the grandson of the previous 7th user. And even still, his hands are bathed in red with blood, not just Shigaraki. Midoriya knew better not to think of it too much, as he was just a stepping stone, someone that needed to be taken out for the greater good. He knew the true monster was the man sitting right in front of him. But still, Midoriya still thought of himself as a monster. And even still, he holds no regrets. There was no room for remorse, not for villains who did not want to be saved. Midoriya came to terms with his actions long before he pulled the trigger. The thought of the death of Shigaraki still continues to linger in his nightmares, and he will have to someday confront All Might about it, but as long as he gets to her, as long as the chances are within their favor, nothing's gonna stand in their way. Men are down and bleeding here. We request backup now. Deku, Todoroki calls out, grabbing his attention. The guards are approaching closer. We need to leave now. Retreating for now was the right call, but there's still so much more to ask. So much more information to get out of him. If only capturing him was an option, but unfortunately, they run the risk of AFO running free if they decide to take him than leaving him here. Froppy reaches out for him, grabbing his arm. Deku could feel a sense of warmth upon her touch, snapping him back to reality. Ribbit please, Izuku. We need to leave now. We got everything we needed. Right. As she slightly tugs on his arm, Deku finds himself slowly willing his body to her movements. I still need to know. Where is she? Where is she? Wait. Deku pulls her arm away as he faces the blackened masked man once more. Is she with her? Carter Young, is she with her? AFO stares with a silent posture that only wastes time. Only then, he answers him with the most honest tone he has shown this entire conversation. Who? Deku grits his teeth under his mask, anger swelling in his heart as a mist of black whip emerges from his hands. You don't know. Carter Young holds a little girl in the palm of her hands. I need to save her before it's too late. If you know, you must tell me. Froppy takes her mask off and the expression of sadness returns. It wasn't uncommon for Izuku to get mad or let his emotions run wild in the heat of the moment, but he has never once been this desperate before. Hearing the pain in his voice hurts just as much, if not more, just imagining the painful expression he shows. Even herself, she feels the tugging in her heart, aching whenever she feels for him. Doing this, straying away from the path of heroes and the potential of a happy life filled with justice and order was no longer an option when she chose to walk alongside him. And not once has she ever regretted it. Where is she? He screams out. Froppy places her hand to her heart. Izuku. Where is Freya? Freya. The words came out a bit dry, almost as if he did not know of that name. Deku has hoped that was not the case, but it is as he has feared. I do not know of this, Freya, little girl, so there's not much I can say in that matter. Deku, you are lying. AFO, I have told you nothing but the truth this whole time, one for all. This girl's name does not ring a bell, but you believe she is somehow involved with my successor, Carter Young. If so, you should confront him and ask yourself. Suyu places her hand on his shoulder, locking her eyes with his. We've got as much information as we could from him. We should go before we get captured. For Freya's sake, we cannot afford to be caught. Suyu places her hand on his face, cupping the bottom chin so he could no longer look at him but focus his attention on her. Please. Okay. He finally settles it, grabbing her hand to pull it down. Let's go then. Still holding onto her hand, he takes initiative and pulls her along towards the entrance. Before they could leave, AFO had to pitch in one last message before the Brat's departure. Carter Young is strong, boy. You plan to face this man alone. What you have done, the world, including the heroes, sees you guys as villains. Even the villains don't seem to take a liking towards you guys. How could you possibly go up against Carter when the odds are stacked up against you? Deku looks back to AFO, along with Froppy. Todoroki and Toga look towards him for a reassuring response. Midoriya, the holder of One for All, which is supposedly the symbol of hope, bears a lot of responsibility and burden. I won't be alone, he counters back, gripping his hold on Froppy's hand tighter. I'm not alone this time. From day one, I've had people I could rely on. Allies that I could call friends. He looks towards Tsuyu, her face a bit red. That's all I need for now. Deku, along with the others, fought their way out to the back entrance of the prison site to meet up with the rendezvous. We're almost there, he calls out, calling to Kurogiri and the others to stand by. As they enter the forest, the young boy senses an intense awareness tingling in all his nerves. My danger sense is being activated. But who? Everyone disperse. Deku orders the group. Without warning, Deku barely dodges a gloved hand aiming for his head. Upon the touch of the ground, the floor exploded with a massive explosion. Explosion? No way. Deku, you bastard. Wasting no time of interruption, he jumps towards him, explosion further boosting his speed as he charges headfirst towards the green-haired boy. Destructive spear bomb. Kachan Y. Before any sense of reason, Bakugo tackles Deku in the gut with intense speed, sending him flying through various trees. Izuku. Froppy hops to his side, pulling him back up from the floor. Izuku. Izuku, are you okay? She shakes him in an attempt to refocus his head. A bit dazed, the young man shakes his head in confusion. What the hell? Tsuyu, what's happening? The amphibian girl looks back to the source where stands a familiar figure emerging from the shadows. We've got company. Todoroki prepares a small flame to quell the explosive boy. As he was about to fire, another figure stood in its way, protecting him from the flame. Bakugo. Dumbass. I don't need protection. You're getting burnt anyways. Kirishima. Rude, I saved you and this is how you repay me. Verbal abuse. It does hurt though. Zero. What do you expect? Bakugo isn't exactly the type to thank people for rescuing him. Kirishima. Zero. Bakugo, what are you guys doing here? Froppy interjects. The real question is, what are you doing here? Another voice calls out from the dark. Recognizing that voice, out from the shadows, Uraraka, Kendo, Manama from Class B, and Yoarashi from Shiketsu High walks beside her. Deku, Tsuyu, Todoroki. What are you guys doing? You've gone too far, attacking the prison and aligning ourselves with the League of Villains. What do you hope to accomplish doing this? Deku rubs his gut as he struggles to find his footing. Thanks to the support of Tsuyu holding him in place, he was able to stand but still a bit staggered from Bakugo's violent attack. Uraraka, get out of our way, he groans painfully. The mask chipped from his left side so the gravity girl could see only the left side of his face. His eyes are still as dull as she last saw them, and it took all of her focus and composure to not break down and cry at that moment. We can't do that. Another voice echoes the forest. Midoriya recognized it as soon as his ears perks the voice. Realizing who it was, brought out a disappointing sigh. There's more. Another familiar voice emerges from the shadow. A young man with dark blue hair and bears his signature glasses. Ida, he groans in annoyance. How could you do this to us? To me, eyeing both the green-haired boy and the mysterious man with a duality mask on who he could only assume as Todoroki. You and Todoroki, you guys were the one who saved me from Stain. You guys were the ones who saved me from the darkness after realizing what happened to my brother. We even went to save Bakugo with Kirishima. We'd done so much together, gone through so many things no normal kid should ever have to experience. You guys were aspiring to be heroes that I even aimed to admire. Respected even, so why betray us like this? Deku could feel the sudden staggering from Tsuyu as she struggles to keep Deku up and about. Tsuyu, are you okay? *R ribbit I'm a bit sleepy. It's kinda cold, she struggles to get the words out. Midoriya forgot. Once outside, she is exposed to the outside cold and is falling into hibernation mode. They waited for them to leave the prison so they could engage with them outside. They were already at the advantage with the numbers and the situation, with Froppy's quirk shutting her body down. In hindsight, this was the best outcome for them to corner the rogues and capture them. Don't worry Tsuyu, I'll protect you and we will get out of this together. Tsuyu, barely keeping her eyes open, Ku, she mumbles to herself as she falls, only for him to catch her by the waist. Uraraka watches the interaction between the two, her heart constricted as she could not let go of this uneasy feeling of pain in her heart. It hurts. Bakugo notices her hands clenching to her chest. He knew she was hurting but he refused to say anything. All that matters is knocking some sense into the green-haired bastard and dragging their unconscious bodies back to Ua. He wanted answers and he was gonna get them. No matter what. Mirko, Midoriya Izuku, Todoroki Shoto, Tsuyu Asui and Toga Himiko. You and the rogues are under arrest for attempted terrorist attacks and the destructive disturbance of modern society. Surrender now, villains, and come with us peacefully. Todoroki walks beside the two green-haired teenagers and flares up a small fire beside her, warming the frog girl up and keeping her awake. We won't leave you behind, Deku. Froppy, feeling a bit better, enough to move about and ready for the fight, stands alongside him with Toga walking up, seemingly a bit giddy for reasons unknown. Toga, potential bloods. I can't wait to take them and become you. Yo Arashi, try us villains. Your reign ends here. Todoroki, Yo Arashi, Kendo, you ready? Monoma, ready as I'll ever be. Kirishima, we're taking you down. Midoriya, Bakugo, you're coming with us, dead or alive. You will die, Deku. Midoriya clenches his fist, lighting green bolts sparks his hair up with power as bulk mist begins to ooze from his hands. Come, damn. Chapter 14, UA vs Rogues. Midoriya and the rogues manage to escape the prison facility through the back but are stopped short when Bakugo and his team manage to intercept their path. You're coming with us, ya nerd. Bakugo growls at the opposing leader. Midoriya looks back to his team, determining what is the appropriate next action. Everyone alike, Toga readies her knife, Todoroki sparking a tiny flame in his hands and Tsuyu squatting down to her usual pose. It was clear that neither him nor the rest of his team would go down without a fight. That none of them are willing to be caught so easily. The young boy could not help but smile at the thought, excitement running through the course of his veins. He turns back to face the obstacle in their way. Can't do that, Kacchan. I have responsibilities I need to attend to. And a promise to keep. Uraraka. Promise. Deku. What are you tall? According to Intelli, Midoriya and Todoroki are the biggest threat out of that group. Bakugo, Ida and I will handle Midoriya. Yo Arashi and Monoma will take on Todoroki, Kirishima will handle Toga and Uraraka and Kendo will battle Froppy. Zero will be on standby, preparing to wrap up the villains once the opportunity presents itself. Got it. The bunny hero flexes her tanned muscles as she jumps for joy, displaying a cocky smirk that tells him they already think they won. Taping is the biggest threat at this moment. Mirko and Kacchan are dangerous but I can handle them. Our only disadvantage is just by numbers, so we need to stall for as long as we can. Fro, as Deku attempts to call out to her, a sudden tingle from his quirk, danger sense, allowed him to face the oncoming attack. As Mirko was planning to finish this in one fell kick, Midoriya blocks it in just a nick of time. Not only that, her crimson eyes widened when he felt her force slowed down. He blocked my kick, and so effortlessly at that. Sorry, Mirko, I know your weakness and the way you fight. You won't take me down that easily, one for all. Smokescreen smoke under his vest started to come out, spreading far enough to cover every place they stood. Run and disperse for now. We'll meet up back when I give you guys the clear. Now go. Hearing Midoriya orders, Froppy, Toga and Todoroki dashed towards the thick woods, splitting the team. Deku acted swiftly as he wrapped his hands around her leg. Mirko tried her best to round another kick but he simply ducked the incoming attack. Using the speed already there, he uses his power to twirl her around and send her flying to the side, crashing through various trees. Not even a second of a moment, the albino bunny bounces back into engage in close combat. Every lightning speed kicks and punches she threw, Deku either dodged, parried or deflected her attacks. It started to bug her but it seemed like he was moving faster than her. Alright Den, how about this? Mirko jumps from side to side, bouncing off every tree that surrounds the lone boy. The more she jumped from tree to tree, a carter placed on the bark left in its wake. The speed she built up was so fast that some of the smoke was beginning to clear up and allowed Ida and Bakugo to get a clearer vision of the battle. Even then, Ida, whose power revolves around speed, could not keep up. Every leap she took would leave an after-image of the pro-hero. This is insane. My eyes can't keep up, Ida comments. Bakugo gulped his saliva, realizing this is the true potential of Japan's top heroes. Mirko's signature skill, piercing bunny hole. The last tree she landed on, she flexed all her leg muscles as she jumped with the back support of speed and velocity. Upon leaping, the tree as well as a good portion of the forest behind her broke and flew off in the opposite direction. Leaping off, she speedblitz his way towards the green-haired boy who refused to move. That's a nice move but it won't be enough. As she was a millisecond of making contact with his back, Midoriya counteracts with his own special move. One for all, F.A. Jin. Full cowling, 167%. Deku winds up a punch and makes contact with Mirko's. Their punch collided and formed a shockwave so strong, Bakugo and Ida were sent flying. The smoke disappeared in an instant due to the intense pressure of the shockwave, and if it had not been for the trees they were holding onto, they would not have known how far they would have been flying. Impossible. How strong are you? Mirko never let up, still pushing with whatever speed she had left. Her fist was breaking, but all she could do was smile at the thought, finally, a worthy opponent. Come villain, show me more of your power. The shockwave died down as Mirko fell to the ground, her arms bruised but yet not broken surprisingly. Hee, you're way too strong, Mirko complimented the man who stood above her. His eyes glowing an emerald green. I can say the same for you. Can you stand down? A simple question, one that Mirko does not know the meaning of, like hell I would. In a desperate act of retaliation, she winds a kick for only it to be stopped. Midoriya then grabs her leg as he lifts it up. This again, I told you ah. Followed up by a cheap sucker punch to the face, Deku blows back a bit from the repercussions. Ha, you villains and long dialogue. That's what you get, she points at him, laughing at his foolishness. I see, sorry about that then. Wiping the dripping blood from his mouth, he gives off a sinister smirk. Mirko could not remember what happened after, but before she knew it, the villainous boy appeared right in front of him. Without her notice, Deku manages to cover the distance between her and him within seconds. Huh, when did he's fast. One for all, full cowling XFA Jin combo. Detroit smash. It was too late to react and Mirko took the full force of a punch she could not defend against. Deku planted a fist in her gut while the other one extended out the opposite direction due to the excessive force. Mirko spewed out blood from her mouth as she was yet again sent flying through the dark thick forest. Only this time, they don't think she is coming back from that one. Ida. No way. Midoriya managed to beat Mirko. Bakugo. How strong is he? Damn you Deku. Bakugo and Ida witnessed their former classmate win a fight against one of the country's top heroes. We can't beat him. He's too strong, Ida points out in an already defeated tone. Bakugo grits his teeth. Mirko managed to put some damage in. All we have to do is finish the job. Come on. Bakugo then goes in, full blazing while Ida trails not far behind him. Phew, that was hella intense. Hopping from place to place, he seems to be ready to go and take on the next upcoming opponents. Bakugo is seen running along with Ida, seeking to challenge him in a 2 versus 1 matchup. Kachan. The other rogues followed their orders as told and were long gone. Monoma followed Yoarashi as they went off to follow the path Todoroki took while Uraraka and Kendo chased after where Froppy might have gone. Lastly, Kirishima with the help of Sero went on to track down Toga, leaving the remaining 3 to deal with the lone leader who chose to stay behind. Deku only watched the 2 closing near with smoke coming from his vest again, looking to cover the area in his smokescreen once more. Don't fuck with me, ya damn nerd. Even in the midst of the smoke, one simple explosion is more than powerful enough to blow back the smoke surrounding him. Deku felt the blowback of the pressure, enough to see Ida charging full speed with a kick winding up. Naturally, the green-haired boy dodged it and backed up a bit to provide some distance, followed by that, another figure of exploding speed far exceeding Ida's initial attack blow past him, sending the glasses boy flying through the ground and grabbing Deku by the collar. Finally, the spiky blonde manages to get his hands on the fleeing prick and wasted no time as he spun his body in even more speed. Using his explosion to guide him up in the air, he performs a spinning attack directly to the ground. Howitzer impact. Dragging Midoriya along with him, he flings the boy back to the ground. Upon throwing him, Deku made contact with his back, creating a giant crater in its wake. Ida watched from the sideline, marveling on the sheer power he was pressuring onto Midoriya. And he hadn't once counterattacked yet. Not done yet. While Deku struggles to get back up, Bakugo follows up his attack with another. What are you? No, do not use that. Ida screams out in a panic. Bakugo was too far into the motions. He knew Midoriya and he knew the potential threat and power he wields upon gaining the quirk. One for all. He knew how dangerous Midoriya can be and he also knew he was never gonna stop if he put his mind into something. He wanted to have a quirk. All might past all for one to him. He wanted to be a hero. He entered Japan's most prestigious school for hero education. He wants to grow stronger. He continued to train and work his body to death. It was annoying but every moment was used to improve himself to the point he far surpassed him. It was hard to admit but the damn nerd was strong. Whether he was stronger than him was up for debate but the sheer thought of that possibility. The thought of him surpassing him pissed him off more than anything. Bakugo directed his right arm towards him, facing his gauntlet his way as he was about to pull the trigger. Dooku stared up at him, widened eye while blood spilled from his forehead. Kachan. You wouldn't. I'm stronger than you. I worked hard, so the thought of you having a sliver of a chance to beat me is just a hopeful notion. With this, you die and come back to Ua with us, you fucking Deku. Bakugo pulled the pin with zero hesitation, blasting him with a minimal nuclear explosion. The blast upon making contact engulfed a good chunk of the forest, roaring the most intimidating vibration that echoes across the land. The crater where Midoriya once was engulfed in dust and flames. Bakugo landed not too far away from Ida, who immediately ran to his aid. Although he was glad he was still alive, he was more furious at him needing to release such a destructive explosion on a man who was once his classmate. Are you crazy? Do you want to kill Midoriya that badly? Scanning the rest of his body seemed to look fine. The real issue was his arm. It looked fractured, bending in ways it should not be able to do. His arm was broken, and it was because he recklessly let out an explosion so suddenly. He was not prepared for it, and his bloody, broken right arm paid the price. We need to take you to Recovery Girl to tend to your wounds, the glasses boy pleaded. I needed to do this, Bakugo growled, obviously feeling the pain on his right arm. That prick Deku is no longer our classmate. He is a villain now and should be dealt as he is. Although Ida somewhat agrees, Midoriya was still a former member of Class 1A. Toru Hagakure, Momo Yaoyorozu, Denki Kaminari, Shoto Todoroki and Tsuyu Inasui were fellow classmates of 1A and were once friends. As class representative who was meant to take on the role of leading and guiding his class through the path of heroism and justice, having this situation turn out the way it is. Is there any other way to feel other than feeling like an absolute failure? 3 hours earlier. Uraraka. Did you guys receive the call? Zero. We did. And so early at that. Kirishima. We're all here. Bakugo. TCH. Bakugo and the rest stand at the front of the dorms, half asleep but suited up and ready to go. Why do you think Mirko called us so late? Zero asked with a skeptical look in his eyes. Kirishima scratched the bottom of his chin. If I had to guess, I assume either Mirko or All Might was able to locate Midoriya and the rogues. You think we were called in to intercept them? Upon hearing his name, a pain-twisted tug in her heart pained her chest. Deku, seeing her expression slump down to a frown, Bakugo catches it and flips the whole atmosphere with his natural explosive attitude. Good. The sooner we find that fucker and his ragtag team of moronic fools, the faster we can bring them home. Uraraka locks eyes with the back of the blonde spiky boy's hair as he makes his way towards the door. Home. Bakugo. Let's go already. I have questions that needs fucking answering, and that damned brocolit bitch is gonna give it to me. Kirishima. Your foul language has gotten worse. Must be the time of the season. Zero. Well, at least he's warmed up and serious. I don't know how I'm gonna face my former classmates. Uraraka. Me, neither. Hold it right there. A sudden voice calls out to the group, stopping Bakugo at the door to look back at a certain blue-haired boy with glasses as his signature feature. The fuck ya want 4 eyes? Bakugo claps back with a growl. Ida chops the air towards Uraraka and the others. Where do you think you guys are going? He asks sternly, adjusting his glasses. Ida did not seem to be smiling, not like he ever does, but his tone was a bit more serious, which only contributed to the already thin atmosphere. None of our business now. Go back to your room and do us a favor and knock yourself out. Bakugo seemed to be the only one to stand his one while the rest falter back, a bit shy of the situation. I heard everything. You guys can't help Midoriya and the others. Let the pros handle it and stay out of their way. Everyone stood aghast. Bakugo especially, whose patience is slowly losing more by the second. What did you say, glasses? Wait, Kirishima finally interjects. You got it wrong, Ida. All Might and the pros asked us especially for our help. He thinks since we know them more than anyone, we have the best chance of their capture. You gotta let us do this. All Might asked you to what? Ida couldn't believe what he was hearing. To allow kids who are still learning the basic ropes of heroism is being asked to go headfirst into combat against their former friends. Are they mentally prepared for such a task? Can they hold themselves well against such difficult tasks? What is All Might thinking? I can't allow this. Ida stood his ground. You all must return to your respective dorms and let the pro heroes handle this. This is not something kids like us can handle. Everyone was now feeling hesitant. Uraraka among the most felt the most conflicted. What he says is not wrong, and it is probably the best choice to let the pros handle it. But at the same time, she can't just sit by and do nothing when she knows she has the ability to do something. Uraraka looked towards Bakugo, reflecting back to the day when he was captured. She remembered siding with the idea of letting the heroes handle it. Even still, Deku, Todoroki, Yaomomo, Ida and Kirishima went regardless of the risk and idea. Deku leads that group, fully bent on saving Bakugo from the league because that's what he does. That's what he is. That's what it means to be a hero, Uraraka mumbled out loud. It grabbed Ida's attention as Uraraka mustered up the courage to say it again. Uraraka's eyes met with the class president, meddling in businesses they have no business being in is the true essence of being a hero. Her eyes were strong and bold, her stance was straight and her expression was serious. It even caught Bakugo's sight of interest. I'm going. All Might taught us that if we have the ability to save someone who does not need saving, then we should act upon it, for that is the true meaning of being a hero. All Might has always stood by that and Deku has always acted upon it. From the start, he was always the one to help us. Her emotional speech almost gave in as tears started to well up. So now I want to help him. Everyone was surprised. Not anyone, not even Bakugo, knew she had something like this bottled up inside her. Having to keep it to herself after what happened seemed like it was slowly eating her from the inside, killing her. Ida, now showing a bit of sympathy, tried to reach out to her. But a certain spiky blonde-haired boy stood in her way. Listen, 4 eyes. He faces him, head turned up with his gritted teeth showing. You ain't gonna stop us, got that? We're going to beat up that green-haired fuckstick and his friends to a bloody pulp. Even if they fight on their deathbed, we're dragging their asses back to Ua whether they want or not. Uraraka wipes her watery eyes from her face and all he could see was the back of the explosive man, standing in her way, that's separating her from Ida. Bakugo. He never seemed like the one to defend anyone, let alone save people, but on rare occasions. There he stood, right in front of her and shielding not only from Ida but the others so they couldn't see her tearing up. Sometimes, he can act like a hero. Ida let out a defeated sigh. I knew I wouldn't be able to stop you guys, walking past the blonde and brunette to meet the door leading outside. If I couldn't stop Midoriya and the others before, what's to say I had a chance to stop someone as hard-headed as you, Bakugo? That light-hearted insult stung a bit, fueling his rage, but was calmed by Kirishima and Zero. Ida brought out a suitcase, seemingly to contain his superhero suit inside. I can't stop you, but I can come with you. Like before, I will monitor everything, and if I deem the situation bad enough to where lives are at stake, I will pull us out of that situation. Regardless of what anyone says, eyeing on Kirishima, who knew exactly what he meant. I'm still the class president and you guys' safety is my top priority. But just like the rest of you, I want to bring back Midoriya and the others. Questions must be answered. Everyone's tension was suddenly released as Kirishima and Zero let out a grateful smile. Uraraka thanked him for his cooperation and looked towards the spiky blonde. Everything worked out just fine, huh, Bakugo? Seeing her smile was a bit uncomfortable. Bakugo had to shy away from his toned expression. You should have told us that from the start, dumbass. Present time. Ida. You overdid it. You broke your arm, we need it to be taken care of. Bakugo. Fuck off me. Who are you? My mom. Bakugo whips his broken arm away from his hold, stinging it more. It hurts, but he was not gonna admit it. Instead, he stares off at the crater where he made it. He is beaten and battered to the bone, but at least he outputs the most of his strength to take him down. His voice is raspy and his breathing is shaky, but at least he took him down. I won. ... And what did you win exactly? A lingering voice can be heard behind them. Bakugo and Ida turn around in synchronization as they see a young boy in formal wear, black vest and gloves, being tugged further into his hand. Impossible, Bakugo mouthed off on, and Ida only stood frightened, unable to move. That was some crazy explosion, Kachan. I could have died. Bakugo grit his teeth in anger. So why didn't you? Other than his broken mask he chose to keep on and the blood running down his forehead and past his eyes, he looked well. His suit did not look the least bit damaged. Not from the explosion, not from the flames, not from anything. It was only a bit dusted, but other than that, he looked fine. Midoriya. Ida calls him names out of fear. Unfortunately, it grabbed his attention and his piercing green eyes struck his blue ones to the core, stunning his heart and rendering unable to move. Sorry Ida, me and Kachan need some things to discuss. Before Glasses Boy could say anything else, he was knocked out by a chop to the neck. Huh, it actually worked. Ida fell to the ground unconscious and all Bakugo could do was watch. You bastard. I'll fucking kill you. He winds up his arm for an explosion, but even producing some sparks hurt his entire muscles. Bakugo had hoped to finish this fight in one fell swoop, but he never had anticipated Deku to come out with such little injuries. It sucks, doesn't it? Deku then started to sprout out, his creepy smile leaking only from the half where his mask broke off. Did you really think during summer vacation that we haven't been training? Me and the rogues have been through hell and back in improving our quirks. Our style of fighting and techniques have been improved upon and even learned some new ones. Day by day, we were getting stronger. The only aspect in our training we lacked was experience. Deku then kneeled to his level, their face within inches that he could feel Bakugo's unrhythmic breathing. Fighting the Nomus, Shin Yasuga, his goons and a bunch of gang mafias only helped us gain experience. Can you tell me, Kachan, do you have the experience of fighting true evil? Bakugo held his tongue. It was true. Uraraka, Shiro, Kirishima and him have been training non-stop with the guidance of All Might and the pros in preparation to fight villains someday. To be prepared for the day he would face Deku head-on, but no amount of training would be enough to calm the racing heart of his with Deku in front of him, exerting very large malicious intent. What is this? I'm sweating but none of them are sparking. Fight. Fight him. Fight him. I can't fight him. What is wrong with me? What am I feeling? This sinking in my gut. Is this fear? That's why you guys can't win. Deku grabbed the tip of his chin, his strong green eyes giving off intense hostility and breaking down his crimson scarlet ones. He could feel the weakness in his eyes and even threatened for some tears to come out. As they continued to stare, his life felt shortening as he slowly forgets the concept of breathing. You guys stand no chance against us, and for that, you lost. Still, he dragged his face away from his grasp as he scrambles for air. Bakugo has never felt so helpless and weak. Mirko was nowhere to be found and Ida was knocked out cold. To visualize it, Bakugo has been played. He did more damage to himself than to Deku, and all he did was toy with him until he got the upper hand. No, from the beginning, Deku had the upper hand and easily beat the living star out of Mirko and him. He did not even do much and here he was, groveling to the floor in front of him. He could not believe it. No punches were pulled, he had given everything he had to his explosion and the result he could get out of it was a couple dirt on his white uniform. Not again. Come on Katsuki, you gotta beat him. Fuck this shit. Move body. Move, please. It's over, Kachan. His voice could only be described as eerie and dead. The spiky blonde looked up to see his deadpan eyes. He finally took off his mask and what he saw was not the Midoriya he knew back in childhood. Back then, from kids to UA, he always had a smile that radiated a light that could even spark his explosive tendencies. He was the light that even All Might chose. So where was that light now? Where? I lost. Chapter 15. Broken friendships. I can't understand this. I don't want to understand this. We used to be friends. The two of us were walking down the path of heroism together. Wanting to be heroes. So why am I the one chasing you down through the forest at night? Why am I trying to capture you? Tell me, Sue, please. Tell me, Sue, why are you doing this? Uraraka couldn't help but speak her mind in a roaring rage. The masked frog leaps from one tree to another, not bothering to answer her. Keep your focus, Uravati, Battle Fist cries out, running beside her. We can't reason with her right now. Our only priority is to beat her and take her back to Ua. Hopefully then, we can get our answers. Kendo's expression falls short. You're not the only one who was betrayed by your friends. I want answers just as much as you. Uraraka almost forgot that even Kendo and Monoma's class was attacked by their fellow classmates. Sen Kaibara with his quirk. Spiral and Yui Kodai with her quirk, size. What bothers her though is the reason they willingly went with Deku. Apart from the sports festivals and the brief Class 1A versus Class 2B, the two rarely, if not, ever interact with each other, so why are they willingly backing him up? With questions slowly piling up, all Uraraka could believe was that they were being brainwashed by another to commit these kinds of things. Uraraka wants to believe it, she has to for the sake of retaining whatever friendship they had with them. She had to believe Tsuyu is doing this against her will, she has to believe Hagakure, Yaomomo, Kaminari and Todoroki are being manipulated somehow to the point they would fight against them. He had to believe they did not want to hurt them willingly. He had to believe Deku would never hurt her. The chase finally falls to a halt when the lone frog lands before them on the common ground where Uraraka and Kendo could see her long hair flow behind her. It was sudden, but Battle Fist immediately put her stance up for battle while Uravati was still hesitant on engaging with an old friend. Blindly chasing the rogue, Froppy looks back but leaving her mask on. It made it hard for Uraraka to read her expression. Battle Fist. Surrender, Froppy, we are taking you in along with the rest of the rogues. Uraraka. Please, Sue. You have to stop this. You guys are taking it too far. Froppy. I can't do that. Izuku needs me. Hearing his name once more pained Uraraka's stomach. Sue preferred people she gets close to refer to her as her first name, but she never asked them to do the same back. Other than Uraraka, Deku was the first boy she has ever referred to by the first name. Not even before she could. Froppy finally turns around to face them, her mask still covering her face. Though that was never needed because she would always display a cold face that hardly made any expression to signify her emotions. Still, she pulled her mask off to show her face among the few people standing before her. Even now, Uraraka does not get anything from looking at her, no telling if she was being manipulated or being brainwashed. There was no fight in her eyes. It was just, dead. 1. Froppy, Ochako, Kendo, you guys do not know what you are doing, we are not the bad guys. 2. Battle Fist, not the bad guys. Oh yay, you made your argument pretty convincing when you decided to attack a prison and injure countless soldiers. 1. But not many are dead, that has to count for something. Besides, our only intention was to break Kaminari out. AFO and the rest of the villains are still within their respective cells. 2. But does that justify your actions, Froppy? 1. Quote. 2. There. Bottom line is, you broke into secured property, injured the lives of many innocent men and broke out a dangerous convict. If that doesn't define the actions of a villain, I don't know what does. Froppy remained silent as her expression lowered with the hanging of her eyelids. Uravati watched as a bystander of everything unfolding. Froppy collected herself as she shook her guilty conscience away. Let me go and nobody else has to be put at risk. Nobody would have to get hurt. Her final warning ticked off the orange-haired girl as she enlarged her right fist in preparation to fight. Froppy responds by taking her own stance, squatting to the floor. Battle Fist obviously getting too riled up from other reasons and Froppy showing no signs of backing down left Uraraka in the middle, unable to budge from her. Awkward situation. Uraraka watched as Froppy put her mask back and Battle Fist inching closer, forcing the green-haired girl to back away slowly. The further back she went, the more she inches closer to the edge of the cliff, pinning to her impending doom. Wait. As the two girls were about to duke it out, the passive brunette floated between them, reaching her hand out to stop both of them in each direction. Uravati, what are you doing? Get out of the way. Battle Fist retracted her large hand back to its normal size. Froppy also stopped, positioned in her frog-like form while her ex-friend turned her way. Sue, please stop this. Come back to us, to Ua, and we can let this all go. Don't make yourself out to be the outcast, she pleads. The only reaction she got out of the green-haired frog was the tilt of her head, not even wanting to respond back. I have to believe you are not doing this out of your own choice. I know you, Sue. The things we did can't all be a facade. You, along with Deku and Todoroki, wanted to be heroes to change the world, to be better than the ones who came before us. Going down this path is not the right way to do things. Don't let yourself fall into the darkness, come back with us to the light of heroism. I know you to be the one who always speaks your mind. So tell me, is this something you really want to happen? Do you want to fight us? Do you want to hurt us for the sake of your goals? Do we have to fight when we know there is a better way? Quote. Do you really want our friendship to end just like that? Uraraka extended her hand out as Froppy stood up on her two legs, meeting her with eye length. I'm sorry Ochako, but what Izuku and I are doing, what the rogues are trying to accomplish is for the sake of our future. You have no business being involved with it, so you either stay out of our way, or we force you to. It was so hard to not break down and cry at that moment. Hearing her say those words in an immediate response made her think she was dead set on it being the truth. The only thing Uraraka got out of that was the simple fact it was over. Friendships were broken and things will never be the same. Uraraka stood in front of Kendo on the side of the path of heroism to become someone like All Might who saved people and put villains away in order to protect the people and keep them safe. That's what she stood for and is willing to fight for, even if it means going up against someone you used to call a friend. On the other side stood Sue, who was slowly getting pushed against the cliff, both Uraraka and Battle Fist slowly making way to her. Froppy was alone in the dark as she was one step behind, falling down God knows how far down. "You are done," Battle Fist claims, winning up one punch her way in hopes of knocking her out. Uraraka watches as Froppy stood there, not even moving. Wait, she's not moving. Why isn't she dodging her attack? What is Sue planning? Uraraka thought back to the time where they began the chase. Unlike the others who went their separate ways and Deku remaining behind, Sue was the only one who went off in the direction towards where they were initially going. The chase wasn't long and she had more than enough stamina to keep going, and to top it off, had the movement free and environment advantage to even escape. So why didn't she? As she begun to question every action taken to get to where they were, the girl in her black swim uniform kneels to her hindlegs. "You better stick close to her, Ochako." Without warning, a tongue shot out her mask, startling the girls. Battle Fist naturally dodged it, but it seemed a bit too easy. The tongue was never aiming for her, but the thought of it would stagger the hero, landing just inches away from Froppy. "Sue, what are you?" Uraraka tracked the tongue on where it was going for it to catch onto a device. She reels back into her hands. It was dark, but she could make out the details about the thing she had. The device was small, but it looked heavy, and it had a pin. A pin, a grenade. Here, it then all came together. The reason Sue chose this place, why she stopped herself at the edge of the cliff and positioned herself to make it look like she was the one who was being cornered. In reality, Sue played the two girls like a fiddle, reversing the role to her advantage and without them knowing it. Uraraka and Kendo alike were so preoccupied with the thought of their classmates' betrayal that it blinded them from the current situation they were willingly being placed in. "Battle Fist, wait," Uravati calls out as she attempts to reach out to her. It was too late. She was afraid as Froppy took a massive leap from her position, dodging her punch and safely landing to the other side. Uravati looks back to not only see Froppy but another figure standing beside her. "Froppy, thank you for coming, Kriti. I didn't think you could hear us from here." "Kriti, I came as soon as you called." The others went out thanks to Kurogiri to help the other rogues. "Kriti, Yaomomo, wait," Uraraka called out, but it fell on deafened ears. "You better stick close to Kendo, Ochako," Froppy repeats once more as she pulls the pin of the grenade, then proceeds to throw it towards the two girls, watching it as it rolls ever so close. "Goodbye, my friend." Moments before the explosion could go off, Battle Fist acted quickly as she expanded both her hands and clapped it together. Fisted wall. The explosion ticked off to a large boom, causing shockwaves to both girls. Battle Fist screamed in pain, but before Uraraka could tend to her wounds, the ground below them began to collapse, and before they knew it, the two began to fall. "Kendo," Uraraka called to her, but due to the shocking pain, it was enough to knock her unconscious. Uraraka watches as both stare off to her fallen friend. Tears threatened to seep out to flow as they could not believe they would just watch her fall like that. With such stone-cold eyes, Uraraka could not think as fear of death clouds her mind. So much negativity was plaguing her mind that she could not think straight. One thing must happen though. To save people, to aim for the goal of being a hero and protect the ones she holds dear, or whatever that's left of them. She must live. The two girls continue to descend down to the upcoming ground. Kendo was knocked out, but Uraraka was still awake and kicking to put her skills into action. As soon as the orange-haired girl's body floated towards her way, she grabbed her arm, using her quirk on her to make herself float. Soon after, she applied some zero-gravity to herself and the fall slowly began to slow down a bit. Still though, it was not enough as the trees closed in. Unable to stop the momentum already there, she had no choice but to pull Kendo in closer to her chest as she protects her from the debris and wood that continues to clash and slash her uniform from the back. It was painful as the wooden bark cut through her hero suit and even cut some of her flesh, but she had to endure until she met her back to the common floor. The landing was gonna be as soft as she could make it with the help of her gravity quirk, but the damage was still painful and her back suffered for it. Once on the floor, she let Kendo go as she rolled off her to the left, still unconscious. With the pain of her back stacked up on top with her sickness rising due to using her quirk, all she could do was lie on the dirt floor thinking back on how bad she messed up. Had she not hesitated, had she not stood in the way of Kendo and teamed up with her to take down Sue, it would not give her an abundance of time for Yaomomo to arrive at the scene. They could have taken her, but the small parts in her heart that still soften up to her once friend, still continues to linger around. Fighting Deku, Yaomomo, Sue, Kaminari, Todoroki, Hagakure. Someday I'm gonna face them again. It hurts. I hate it. Did All Might have to go through this kinda situation before? Fighting a friend, is this what it means to be a hero? To fight for the people. To keep the world safe. Is this how it feels to be good? Uraraka covers her eyes with her hands, clenching it close and hard to keep the tears from coming out. She tries and tries, but it is futile. The water trickles down her cheeks as the frustration overpowers any thought of positivity she could make an excuse for herself. Being a hero is hard. Asui and Yaoyorozu walk down the forest together as they make their way towards the meetup area Midoriya told them about. I hope Izuku is okay. Asui speaks out her concern even without realizing it. Yaoyorozu smiles casually. You're still so worried about Izuku now of all times. Despite the fact we caused Uraraka and Kendo to fall off the cliff. Asui places her finger up to her bottom chin. I know Ochako. Even under drastic situations, she can figure something out to where she saves herself and the girl from Class 1B. The two girls make their way through the thick forest, feeling they are getting closer by the second. 1. Yaoyorozu. You knew they would be safe. 2. Asui. Ochako is strong and kind. She has the potential and heart to become a great hero. I believe in her. 1. Even after all that's happened. After all you said. 2. That's just how we are. We're rogues and we're here to support Midoriya. We can't back down now. 1. Still, do you still not dream of becoming a hero someday? 2. I want to make a change. I want to save people and do better, but doing it their way was never going to work. Not now at least. But, Asui stops. Yaoyorozu turns to her. I do dream about becoming a pro hero. I want to be a hero. The tall girl can see her eyes lighten in the dark as her smile peeks each side of her cheeks. Of course you will be, Asui. After everything is done, why don't we try to return and apologize to everyone at UA? If they will still be able to accept it, Kiro, I would like that. The two girls laughed amongst themselves as they continued to walk. So, Asui asks, changing the topic of conversation, if you came to help me, who is helping the others? Dabi, Kaminari and Kodai went on to help Toga while Hagakure and Kaibara went to help Todoroki. Twice stayed back with Kurogiri, awaiting Midoriya's orders. With how things are going, everyone should be wrapping up now. I hope so, Asui chimes in, I want to see everyone soon. Yaoyoro could not help but put up a slight smirk. You mean you can't wait to see Midoriya, right? Asui didn't respond back, but her high-pitched corals and light red blush on her face tells her otherwise. Even at times like this, having girl-to-girl talk is healthy sometimes. You gotta be kidding me. Toga jumps freely as she effortlessly dodges Kirishima's head-on tackles and Siro's tape as she dances through the forest. It's not very manly to attack girls, but I have to. Winding up a punch, the blonde girl dodges it once more, destroying the tree in her place. Stop playing around, Kirishima. We gotta capture her quick so we can help Bakugo, Siro chimes in, shooting another tape at her. Only this time, it manages to wrap itself around her arm. It surprised the two, but Siro wasted no time to pull her back. Down to the floor, slamming her body to the dirt. Now, he calls out the redhead as he jumps on the distracted villain. It's over, Toga. As he reaches both his hands on her, she quickly pulls out her knife to throw it at him as a last desperate act of defiance. Seeing it coming towards his chest, he hardened himself as the knife simply bounced off him like it was making contact with bubbles. Toga dodges once more by rolling to her sides when the red hero gets near, but that doesn't stop him from advancing towards her. You're done. Now give up. As he was about to grab her, a huge wave of blue flames engulfed him, pushing him back. Though his hardened quirk helped him, Kirishima still took quite a bit of damage. What the? He shrugs off the lingering flames to find one figure standing before them. The notorious villain associated with the LOV. His signature burnt scars walked towards Toga's side, burning off the tape that held her down. Dabi, you're not very talkative tonight. What's gotten into you, Toga? Nothin', I'm just a bit bummed out. I didn't get as much blood as I would like. Do you think Hagakure has some? Toru Hagakure. Hey, Kirishima calls out to the two figures, where are you guys keeping Hagakure? Answer me. As he was about to reach out once more, Dabi sparked flames around his body but never needed to act upon to defend himself as he wasn't alone. Two more silhouettes rushed out the woods, one sparking some electric sparks that touched Kirishima. The sparks sent tingling down every portion of his body, and in just one go, a large amount of voltage blew the redhead back, sending him flying to the ground. Siro ran to his side to try to help his fellow classmate. What happened? Siro asked. It all happened so fast, but his body couldn't move after that attack. This tingling sensation almost made it seem like he was paralyzed. Wait, paralyzed? Kaminari? Kirishima attempts to stand up, but the most he could do was sit up to at least see the two figures standing beside the LOVs. Hey man, been a while, a figure. Wearing a mask with a lighting bolt crossing his mask. Another, more quiet figure stood beside him bearing a white marionette mask, new to her previous one. No way, Shiro can see the resemblance of his friend despite hiding his face away with a mask. Kirishima picks himself back up. If you were a real man, you would take off that ridiculous mask and face me head on. Though his talk was still there, his body was burned and he was threatening to stop working altogether due to Kaminari's high-voltage attack. Shiro, he manages to mouth out quietly to his fellow bud, we're outnumbered and overpowered. You need to leave and go get help. Shiro's smile disappears as he clearly shows his objection, but the situation they are in is not something to debate now. On my word, you zip your ass out of here. His voice lays hard but he hardens himself. Kaminari giggles to himself, you're not seriously planning on taking all of us by yourself, are you? A slight smirk forms on his face. Kirishima, who is also smiling, I wouldn't count myself out yet. You know better than anyone here I won't back down so easily. As just like that he bolts towards the group head on. Go now Shiro, he barks at the taped hero, dodging Dabi's flame. Shiro zipped his tape out of the area, Toga debating on whether she should throw her knife to stop him from fleeing, but Kaminari stops her, telling her it was unnecessary. He is not our concern right now. We need to focus on bringing down the Red Riot. Kirishima puts his arm up to block every attack they throw at him, mostly Dabi shooting his fire at him, but through his sheer determination and manpower, he perseveres through and breaks past the wall of blue flames. He jumps up to slam both his arms on the floor, causing a small crater in its wake, but everyone except Dabi leapt away to a safe distance. Damn you, hero, the scarred man cursed himself, readying up another blast of flames at point-blank range, but Kirishima deflected his hands and wound up another punch to his face. The force knocked him back a bit, but not enough to put him down to the ground. His breathing was ragged and his body felt like it was about to give out, but it's not over yet. His red-crimson eyes darted towards the yellow sparks in the man's pupil. Aligning yourself with villains. That's pretty low for someone who wanted to be a hero. Kaminari shows a slight smirk as he shrugged his shoulders up a bit, what can I say? Things change. People change, and besides, Midoriya made the call to align us with the League. We need as much power and allies as we can get. Kirishima grits his teeth in anger, hearing those words come out of his mouth. Allies. You had allies. Friends at UA. What are you guys up against to force you guys to team up against villains? The spiky redhead pounds his chest, his expression showing a bit of desperation and frustration. You had the backup support of the pro heroes, so why abandon them? You had the back of UA if you would have just extended your hand to us. Why don't you come to us for help? Hey, Kaminari. Part 4 ended. Thanks for watching.